bird on a tree. I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see. From up here, the world seems small. We can sit together. It's so beautiful, you and me.
Okay, Duane, I have another question here. You always say everything is already. Everything is already. Now let's look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. They are already. Uh, so if we have to live in the ISSS, so why should we be bothered by all that which is already dictated by life's circumstances? Everything is already the good, the bad, and the ugly. So why should we be bothered about anything?
Exactly. From the one-dimensional personal point of view that thinks it knows something, that seems to make sense. And that's as far as it goes. Can you, even in some way in your imagination, because see, you have the faculty of imagination that supersedes the mind and the emotions, everything. You have that imagination. And that's not reality. That's just imagination. You're able to, unhook yourself from the restrictions of the mind and the emotions through your imagination. And you can see possibilities. You can create possibilities with your imagination. But they're still in creation. This is what people don't realize. But can you imagine an endlessness that you cannot even consider exists? Can you do that? And with that, compare that to what you think you know. And so you got a lot to figure out, don't you? And so the imagination is limited. You can't even come close to considering what it is. But yet you want to think you can. And so, you see the difference? So when you really start to see the is, and the isness life is, and the endlessness, the real universe is, okay, that little self really starts to shrink. Because all of a sudden, at some point, you really absolutely know nothing. Because it's all about your real awareness. So there's a comparison for you. So just even using the imagination, you can't even get close. Because, see, you can't make a dent, you might say, in reality. Because it's already pure and perfect. There's nothing, like I said, you can't add to it. Who has said this before? You see, people are considering, what does the world look to? Consciousness. Spiritual consciousness, Christ consciousness. So it's a consciousness thing. But what they don't see is that consciousness, it's like going from your house, the world consciousness, to a warehouse. It's just a bigger thing that you've created. That's all. It's in creation. People are thinking in terms. See, this is where these people don't have the awareness of what life really is. They don't have the awareness. They cater to consciousness. Yeah, so there, I gave you some comparisons, Charles. And so the considerations that a person has, really where, what just, does it really make sense, what we're considering, okay, of all that is? It's like, yeah, why do we do this? Well, because until you recognize 100% what is real, like the boys do, and stand real there, okay, you need this. You need all of this. Everything that's happening now, doesn't matter what it is, you need it. But you decide to recognize it, or you decide to be taken away by it. That's where you're the effect of it. You are the decider. You can learn to compensate all of creation with your real awareness, but you have to figure that out. So in the meantime, yeah, that's the lazy one-dimensional way. It's like, well, why do I have to do this? What the person is really saying along the lines, I'll give you a view, and there's many, it's like, I don't have time for this. You know, I've got a date with my girlfriend, and we're going to the football game. I don't have time to figure this out. Why do I need this? Why do I need the bad times? Why can't we just have the good times? Well, you can. Just keep chasing them as long as you can, but you got to figure that out too. You can have as many good times as you want, and you'll constantly be the effect of everything here. So that is a one-dimensional, teeny tiny view consideration, the personal self saying, why can't I have everything I want? Why do I have to deal with anything else? Sounds like a teenager, doesn't it, that's been supported by their parents. And their parents are thinking, well, when are you going to go out and get a job and contribute? Well, it's like, well, why do I have to? You've always supported me. Why do I have to go get a job? Why do I have to do those things? Why do I have to get up early and go through the pain and work at a job? Why do I have to do that? Why can't you just keep supporting me? Well, that can be possible. But through that, will the individual recognize the all is, the completeness, to stand real with life and see how life sees? How can you learn to see how life is? So again, yeah, that's just a little tiny view with the personal self, Charles. You see the difference? Life is a lot bigger, so much so that you cannot even consider it. Who will do that? Who will put their intent into something that they cannot even consider? Will you do that? Yeah. But guess what? When you learn how to do it, then you start to see what's real if you're ready for it.
Today, I was talking with Atem Peter, who is now in Boston, Massachusetts. And he asked me this question we're discussing. He said, life is the sound like reality, which is the self-subsisting, all-powerful, all-pervading, and omnipresent that life is. So he asked how this came into existence. He believes that there must be an intelligent, controlling force behind the sound like reality. So what can you say about this, Duane? This question is perplexing to me.
All right, we'll have a little fun here. First of all, look at the words that were used. Did he write these words, or did you write those words? All powerful. Charles, did you write those, or did he write those?
He mentioned them, all powerful, omnipresent.
Yeah.
They sound like reality.
He's mixing the old references, and I've never written all powerful. You see, power is cause and effect. There's no power with the is. It's an isness, like the air you breathe. Is there power in the air? There's no power. Well, there's energy because we're there, but realistically, just looking at the sun shining, where's the power? Yeah, you feel heat. I'm not talking about that. Yeah, so these attitudes, again, people are starting to mix these ideas, and it's ideas upon ideas, and people ask these questions according to their upbringing, etc. So, yeah, this is where things start to get a little funny, and they start to go along with these ideas. All powerful, that's the old God idea. It really is. It refers to the gods. Yeah. Okay, was there, I forget the rest of this. Can you refresh me on the question here, please? Yeah, because I was kind of focused on that. Go ahead.
Yeah, he says this sound like reality is self-subsisting and all-pervading everywhere. And It's omnipresent and uh, it's omnipotent.
Okay,
So,
so I'm going to jump in. So now I remember. Okay, because I was focused on that. So his idea is that this intelligence or whatever he calls it, again, it's the God idea, has to come from somewhere, right? That's the idea.
yes, yes.
Yes, it has to. See, when you ask the question like that, again, it's 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 a personal view. It's a one-dimensional question. It's in time and space. You're asking, again, well, creation must have started from somewhere. There has to be a beginning. You see, because we're in creation and we're thinking in those terms. Like when you're born and you're living. You know, uh, a beginning, a duration, and an ending. We go through this experience, so we think in these terms, and he's doing the same thing. This is where people get confused, and yeah, it does take some sorting out, and I've said this many times. No, it's not what you've always considered. What you've always considered is a reference, not something to go by as a reality. There's a difference. Everything that we've come to know, whether it's through the systems or whatever, they're all fine. They're just references. Actually, they help you better sort it out when you see it. The isness already is. Life already is. There's no beginning or ending. That's the best part because it's endless. Creation, everything in creation, there's a beginning, a duration, and an ending. And actually, once you've come here, the funny thing is, once you've come here and you've started this experience and you can't remember where you are. It's like all of a sudden you're here and you're going through it and you're wanting a few thrills like everybody else, but all of a sudden at some point through the duration of it, you're realizing, heck, let me out of this place. I don't want to be here anymore. You see? But now you're in it, you see. So again, it comes to that point, doesn't it? Now you're actually looking and almost praying for the end to come. It's like, let's just end it all. This is where people get radical and commit suicide and do all kinds of funny things. That's a choice. It's all a choice. The end result is you. And again, this is where the confusion comes in. You see, you start to mix these words and whatever that I don't use, and they become ideas, and they become integrated, and they don't work. And there is no beginning. It's an isness. It's like day and night. Okay, we have day and night, and that's a good example, black and white. We have the opposites. The is, even though it is here now, it is the opposite of creation. You might say that's one way to say it. Just like a mirror, you see the reflection, but it's not the reality. This is a reflection, but it's not a true reflection of life. See, this is the interesting part. And the old idea in creation is so above, so below. Well, that's because of the levels of creation. It has nothing to do with reality. So how is it that, yes, you can see in the daytime, but at night, do you see the same way? No, you don't. You don't see the same way at all. But there's some animals that can see at night better than they can in the daytime. So you have the opposites here. So how is it that you're going to recognize this true reality aside from what you're seeing and what you're used to and being self-convinced by? How are you going to see this? And so again, there becomes the challenge. And then at the same time, how are you going to bring it through, explain it, present it to the world? Okay. Will you take on that challenge too? Or will you just go hide away and pretend that everything's okay? See, again, so it just depends upon, you might say, how big you want to get with your awareness. You want to get really big? Well, then you got to go through all of it. But you want to stay real small with it? Then you just go hide away and pretend everything's fine. But it's like night and day. No, it's none of those things. And again, look at the all-powerful idea, omnipresent, whatever. That's the God idea. I don't use any of that. Now, Paul used those things. But I don't use any of that because they're self-limiting. That's why I don't use those ideas. I like isness, because it's everything. But it's still only a reference, not the reality. So yeah, you can think You can figure it out with your mind, but it's just your thinking. That's not it. So, uh, realistically, who can figure out how you breathe? You really can't. You don't know how you breathe, but you're breathing, aren't you? Can you figure it out? Have fun with that one. So again, it's interesting how we are in creation, and it's even more interesting and a lot better what reality is. But hey, I'm not the know-it-all here. What I see is just, I see something, but it's not everything because nobody can see everything. Not even the boys, not even the true silent ones, not even the isness itself, because it's endless. This is what's so awesome about it. When you catch on, you see, when you catch on to what it is. It's like a sailor sailing the seas. He don't want the ocean to end. Yeah, it's nice to see land once in a while, but he wants to go sail the seas. Why is it? Because that's how life is. It's an endless sail of recognition. But at the same time, now that you know that there are others struggling here and going through what they're going through, it's okay to take the time and do something real. Yes. And the boys love the adventure. They don't like to sit around and be bored. As long as they're in creation and they're doing their part because their heart's in this, and they've decided to be in creation, and they decide to step up. They're not at the beck and call of people like the gods of man who look down upon others. Yes. No. They decide if they're going to show up. They decide if they're going to do something. They don't have to. Yes. Yeah. So they're not slaves to others or servants. No such thing. They're just very real. So yes, isness. Yes, and who will take the time to see that? Yeah, this is a big step. Hey, give yourself 1,000 years. Be real. What do you think is going to happen in 2 weeks? Give yourself 1,000 years. Paul said, in 25 years you can be the master. No such thing. Okay, that's a cute idea. But being the master of what? Okay, you want to be the master of something? I don't. That's why I don't use these ideas. I'm just Duane. I'm fine with that. I use the other things as fronts out there in the public. It's kind of fun and it bothers people. So I'm fine with that too, because I get their attention. And then I get my chance to say something that even bothers them more. Yeah. But through that bothering, through that agitation, they may just flip off their scales and see something. Maybe years later, it's like, oh, now I see what he's saying. I'm kind of getting it because it takes a while. Their personal life has just been too hectic and too absorbed to take the time. But, this is what we've all done for lifetimes. I totally take advantage of it. Again, it's my love affair. Total love affair. That's why I call the books Amazing Romantic Adventures, because they are. It's not a spiritual path. It's not sitting around being passive and meditating about something or whatever. It's none of those things. It's so much better. It's so much everything. So again, not limited by beginning and endings and there must be some kind of intelligence. Again, what is the person thinking when they're considering that? It's almost like they're saying, oh gee, I wonder if there's something else besides me. That was a joke, Charles. Okay, yes. There is you too, yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. It was no joke, but the explanation kept me. I didn't know whether I had to write or have some more couple of ears or what. So that was very comprehensive. Well, you received an education at this level of life. So do you think your education got through your tutors, your mentors, and the educational system? Was it a waste of time? Duane?
I would not say that it's a waste of time. There's no such thing. Okay. Time is an invention of the mind. And yes, we do relate to time. We have schedules, whatever, according to this world. But realistically, There's no such thing as time. And we know that. And it's something we have fun to play with. And it makes sense in creation. Again, what makes sense? And so, realistically, as I look through what I went through, I would say that I tolerated it long enough. And then it's like, you know what? I had enough. I'm out of here. I'd rather go surfing. So that became my choice. That's all. So it's not that it's good or bad or indifferent. Everything that we experience is okay once we see it for what it is. How many people have had the worst things that happen in their life? And it can be a relative or somebody dying or whatever. And then years later, they're at a dinner, a get together with their family and relations, and they're joking about it. Oh yeah, Bill, he kicked the bucket, and or Bob or whatever, he kicked the bucket, and he realistically he was always tripping over himself because he was dead drunk every day or whatever, and so finally he had a heart attack, whatever. But at the time, that it happened, oh, everybody was crying, it was sorrowful. But years later, they joke about it. You see, realistically, everything's okay, because really the individual's okay. See, when you see through the heart of things, this is where I like the challenge of relating to people. I hear what they say, but at the same time, they usually don't hear what they say. Yeah, they're not listening to themselves. So I see through all that. And I don't care what a person does or what they've been through. Actually, it's quite exciting when I hear people that, I did this and I robbed the bank and I was in prison for 4 years. And then I went over here and I worked for the government. I was a spy for them. And, I see what they're doing. Actually, those are the stories I like to hear. I'm not looking for good people. I'm looking for risk takers. People who take the risk. We've all been through whatever. We've all been killed. We've all killed each other. Just like the lion kills the deer. Okay, that's how it is here. Life does not care. It's not concerned like the sun shining. The sun has seen everything on this world. It really has. Be the view of the sun. There's no concern there. See, what's so cool about the sun is it's really like your real awareness. It don't have to deal with 5 bodies that encumber it. We do. Because we're going to get the bigger picture because of that encumbrance if you can figure it out. Yes, you will get the bigger view. It's available, but you got to figure it out. So, it's a funny situation we're in here, isn't it, Charles? It's always funny. But everything's fine because it all leads up to what is, what already is. That's the best part. It already is. And so eventually, as you decide it, it must become so. See, no longer manifestation. Even Paul uses those words. Oh, you manifest this or manifest that. That's in a physical sense. And yes, but I like to say become so, because it already is. And it's just that when you figure it out, it becomes so. It's kind of more fun. Like karma, I don't really use the word karma very seldom, unless I'm talking about the elites. But cause and effect, it's easier to understand what's going on and pay attention to that. It's because a lot of people just say, well, I don't want to hear about karma. I don't believe in karma. See, they just throw it off. But they know cause and effect because they're living it. Yeah. It's like, oh, I got to go home and deal with the kids. See, they got to be the effect. See, they know cause and effect. You had the kids, now you got to deal with them. Okay, cause and effect. Yes, Charles, was there? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Duane. I think there's no useless question here because the answer is always very enlightening.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see.